about it today. Okay, let's get the. Let's see. Boom. Should be good now. Sweet. All right. Welcome to the closing table, where we talk about everything that it takes to get to the closing table for real estate investing and everything under the sun related to that. I'm Drew from Lead House 365. This is Craig from Lead House 365. And our special guest today is Brandon Fisk from Houston, Texas.
What's going on, Brandon?
Hey, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me here today, guys. It's an honor.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for being here, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man, your journey in real estate.
Yeah, my journey's pretty interesting. I moved here to Houston in 2020 having no freaking clue what I wanted to do and what I was going to do. It's a bit of a culture shock coming from a European town to Houston, being as vast and extreme, as fast-paced as it is here. I met my girlfriend, or at the time girlfriend, whose father has been working in real estate since the 90s, flipping houses from the auctions and stuff like that. So he kind of gave me a kind of a small taste of what real estate is in a nutshell. And I wanted to figure out how I can get involved with it too. So what most people do is they read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and figure out, I think I need to get a real estate license so that I can help people buy and sell. And
Yeah.
I was learning through the agency side and how all of that worked. And then after I got my license, I learned quickly what wholesaling was after I called a bandit sign on my way to some appointment or something. And that was my introduction to Net Worth Realty. And I met one of the owners of Net Worth, and he kind of explained to me what off-market real estate looked like. And it intrigued me so much because being a real estate agent, you're doing open houses, trying to get clients, you're door knocking a lot. You're putting yourself in all of these extremely uncomfortable situations to get clients that may or may not even want to sell right now or in the next year at least. So when he introduced me to what wholesaling was, he explained to me that there's a lot of people that are dealing with distressed properties that are in burdening situations that they need to get rid of a house. And when you're driving through neighborhoods, it's a lot easier to tell who's probably needing help from a cash buyer or an investor. So after having that conversation with the Net Worth guys, I started thinking a little bit bigger about off-market transactions. And I met one of my older mentors who kind of helped me really get the ball rolling, showed me how the paperwork worked, how to find people who are motivated sellers, and how to have a proper conversation with them, explain to them like what a cash offer looks like versus what listing the house looks like. Because as an agent, I can now do both. And as an agent, you're going into these appointments thinking like, I need to get them to sign a listing agreement so that we can throw the house on the MLS, not knowing that I could put the property under contract and then go and find the investor myself. That was a big dot connection moment for me. And the first one was a little challenging, but after understanding the numbers and kind of understanding how much it takes to put a property back together, you're able to kind of figure out what the house is going to sell for. And then
reverse engineer, right?
Reverse engineering. Exactly.
Yeah.
So after coming up with some numbers and then trying to dispo it on Facebook at the time, I was told to just go and add
We've all been there. We've all been there though.
Just add yourself to all of the real estate investing networks in your town, right? That's what everybody does.
Yeah.
So then after posting the property, I'm getting dozens of messages. It happens so quickly. And then I'm meeting every single buyer at the property one by one, telling them what they would pay for it versus what my contract was locked up for. It's like, oh man, I'm overpriced on this. I need to learn how to have a renegotiation conversation with the seller, get it to the point or just underneath what a buyer's coming in at. So it was a whole learning lesson all in one property that I'm forever thankful for that mentor and helping me understand the whole big process of it all.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot. It's a lot. Did you did you close? Did you get the deal done though?
We did close. It took a little bit longer than I wanted to because I learned what affidavit of airships were like.
Oh,
And then, but I feel like it was a really good first property because it showed me like this is not easy, right? You have to basically hold the seller's hand through the whole transaction until we're finally at the closing table.
yeah.
And then explain to them like, we are helping you get this thing closed. We may not be the buyer right away, but here's the partner I'm working with to get this thing done for you. And then as long as you're happy, he's happy, I'm happy in the middle, then we're good to go. But the affidavit of airship stuff, it always adds a little bit of stress to the seller, thinking like, oh, I thought we were going to be done with this. And now I have to do all of these questionnaire paperwork and this and that. But as long as you're able to communicate that with people, there's almost nothing that can go wrong as long as you're setting those expectations. And that transaction helped me learn that.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds like it, man. It wasn't, I guess that first one wasn't as easy as all the people on YouTube say it's going to be, right?
It sometimes is, and I've had those transactions where it is really easy and simple, but it's very rare to happen. Very rare.
So what was so that was your first deal. How and you found the deal from a bandit sign, you were saying?
It was an SEO, search engine optimization. At the time, my old partner was running Google ads and stuff like that. So every day he would get like new motivated leads every single day that popped up onto his system. And during one of our very first meetings, this lead came in and it was right down the street. So he invited me to go with him and kind of see how it works. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm be happy to join you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool.
That's cool, really man. Cool. So how did the renegotiation, how did that go on your first deal? How was that?
So I remember, I think we had it under contract for like 150 and all of my buyers were coming in at 150. And the fortunate thing about when these houses are like completely dilapidated is you can almost like not finesse the numbers a little bit, but you can start getting some quotes and see like, well, this foundation, we had a quote run. We thought it was going to be just $5,000, but now it's looking to be about 15. And I hate to go back on my price, but there's nothing we can really do with this property unless we get the budget to fix it. Otherwise, it's just going to sit here and get more and more dilapidated. So that kind of worked out. And also with the affidavit of airship stuff, that helped us stretch the timeline a little bit. So I was able to continue marketing it, trying to find a little bit higher paying buyer, and then having that conversation at the same time. So it worked out pretty well, but I've obviously gotten a little bit better at it.
Yeah. Yeah, probably setting the expectations that like, hey, I'm a human like you. I can't see through the walls or underneath the house. So I'm safe at this number, but I'm going to need to get professionals in here to get a second opinion as well. So
yeah, exactly.
That probably helped out.
That helps a lot when you can put your money where your mouth is and actually get an inspection done on some of these properties. You have actual paperwork that you can show them.
Leverage.
Like, I'm not just making this number up. This is a quote that I got to fix the entire foundation. I thought it was going to be this, but like you said, I'm just human, and these numbers make my price wrong. So unfortunately, we just have to negotiate. But then after that, we get the whole thing done, and you get your money. So
yeah, well, that's awesome, bro. That's awesome. So you got to see the good and the bad from the first deal, and having to go through that whole affidavit of airship thing on your first one is and get it to the finish line, dude. That's a great accomplishment, man. So how long have you been in the business now total?
Literally just over 3.5 years now. So I got licensed in October 2022. I've only done maybe 10 to 12 realtor transactions, and anything in between, I'll obviously throw cash offers at it every single time. But then if that doesn't work, then I can use my license hat and say like, well, let's get it listed for you then. But yeah, just over 3.5 years. So I've actually seen the market kind of be a bit of a roller coaster in the last few years. I got in right when interest rates were kind of ticking upwards. That's when the market was really getting a lot more challenging for anybody that was getting into it. And now we're kind of at another spot where the market is just really unstable, not sure what's going to happen. And I've seen it both sides, being a seller's market and a buyer's market, and being able to pivot when necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy for the past few years. It was interest rates are really low, and then they peaked, and now they're going back down. So, who knows what's to come. Speaking on that, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on this 50-year mortgage that may be rolled out? What are your thoughts on the retail side, on the investor side? I keep hearing about it all the time. People are making reels about it. And what are your thoughts on that, man, being a realtor yourself?
Yeah, I mean, as the realtor, obviously, I think you will be able to get more sales out of it. But I mean, nobody likes generational depth, and I think that's exactly what it'll create.
True.
I think there will be a barrel of people that will go for it, because the dream of homeownership is what we all kind of imagine in our lives, and this is just another way of getting into it. But I don't think the intelligent person who can understand what mortgages and like interest rates and what you're actually paying for long term is going to think that this is a good idea. But I do think there will be people that kind of get suckered into it and
Yeah.
unfortunately create
Low-hanging.
generational debt for their
Just like
families.
the used car salesman, right? They're just trying to show you that monthly payment price, and that's all they want you focus on is that monthly payment price, because they get their commission no matter what. The dealership gets that money from the bank no matter what. And the bank, they'll get whatever you're willing to put on paper. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be attractive to people who don't have maybe the full picture, and people who just are focused on a goal, which is like a home ownership, and they're not focused on the destination or how they're going to get there or what that looks like.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me worried from a realtor standpoint if they're going to kind of like persuade them to go that route, not properly explaining it. Because for a realtor, that's just another easy commission grab that you can get. If this option is on the table, you're going to be able to have more clients to work with potentially. But I feel a little bit weird offering that to anybody who understands real estate, and even to somebody who doesn't understand real estate. It's like,
No.
I don't want to push this onto somebody who doesn't really get it.
I think
Yeah.
2005 to 2008 kind of showed us that most of the realtors, though, they're just focused on that commission and the subprime mortgages and the adjustable rates. They were passing those things out like candy. I know a realtor friend who was doing business around that time and having a lot of success. It used to be if they did the mirror test, and if you breathed into a mirror and it made fog, then you can get approved for a mortgage. Back then, that's literally what they would say to each other. So it's like they're finding a way. It's right. Like the government came and we're like, no, you guys messed up. Can't do this anymore. And they're like, okay, well, what's the next thing we can do to get something back, right? And so it looks like this is their way around it. And who knows where's the buck stop? We go into 72-year mortgages after that, as life expectancy rises and rises and rises. You can get a 72-month car loan, right? So it looks like that number is the next logical step.
I see this turning into a creative finance frenzy though in the
Hell
in the
yeah.
future, right? Because nobody's going to be able to get equity buying these types of loans.
Yep.
And it's going to force creative finance being the only option when they're ready to get out of these things.
And what we see is, we deal with people like you every single day, dozens of clients, and dozens of potential clients. And a lot of people have no idea what a creative finance deal is. A lot of people just think that the cash offer, and maybe have a real estate license. It's like, is those dispo strategies. And a lot of people, when you ask them if they know how to do sub twos or creative finance deals, sometimes people look at us like we have three heads, or they say they've heard of it, but they've never like looked into it or whatever it is. So I guess that's one of the big education pieces we can potentially give to people who may be watching this or watching this in the future is, study up, because that's going to be one of the few ways to not only have a massive advantage right now, because it is one of the absolutely mandatory dispo strategies we've been seeing, but absolutely in the future too. It's only going to become more and more of a necessity to understand that, how to pitch it to a potential seller, and how to execute it in a way that makes sense.
Exactly. If you don't know how to at least explain creative finance to sellers and give them that option, not saying it's the perfect option for that person, but it's still explaining to them so that, I mean, just education in general is going to be powerful for the next 10 years, or if it's not already. The more you can explain to these people, the more they will understand. So that way, when a dumbass gets into the picture and improperly explains it, they will already have a little bit of education around it, because this is going to continue to happen. And just like a lot of people, like I think the guy's name's Jordan Taylor, I believe that's his name. He's like a creative finance wizard. He goes live every single day and pitches seller financing to real estate agents. The more people that do that, the more understanding it's gonna create in the open market. So I think it's very important to be able to have that conversation with sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the whole, the 50-year mortgage thing, I mean, from an investor, and I don't know, I just heard about the 50-year mortgage. I don't know if it's even for investors, if they do roll it out. But I think being an investor, a buy and hold guy, I mean, that's the greatest thing in the world, because they're never selling the house anyways. So to have their payment now pretty much chopped in half, the cash flow, rent's not going down anytime lately. So, now their cash flow is almost double, and that mortgage is stretched out for, 50 years. So I don't know. I mean, I think it would help a lot of investors, but for the normal primary residence homestead buyer, it's probably not the best thing, even though they're having a cheap payment.
This is their answer to people not being able to afford homes. Is the government solution of like, hey, like this is for first time home buyers, is where they're targeting, because the American dream of buying a home has become so hard for the younger generations. It's from the 80s to now. Think about how more unrealistic it is for a common person in their 20s, right? So this is a way they're trying to make, that's their answer to solving a problem that it's really the a bigger economic problem. This is kind of like a band-aid to just say they did something. It seems like, to me, is how I view it. Is like, hey, like, here's a way you can own a home. You want a home, but it's like people aren't going to realize, like Brandon said, that they're putting themselves in a situation where they'll potentially never have equity on this home by the time repairs and stuff need to be made. They'll be retiring and not even have a home as an asset to be able to become a snowbird, or to go retire into some condo on the beach. Like, you'll never have that option. You're stuck to that house for forever. So it's almost like you're just paying rent to a bank, essentially.
Yeah,
Craig said something I didn't really think about, though. For investors, that is a potential major deal for investors who are looking for that buy and hold strategy. And then probably, I mean, maybe that's where creative finance solves the problem for a regular homeowner. You buy the asset and then potentially rent it out to them, or lease option it back to somebody who's looking to live in there. I don't know how it's going to. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, these dogs, man.
He doesn't like the 50-year mortgages.
See one mailman and they just go berserk.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I think for investors, an amazing tool to be able to be able to look at, like, creative financing more houses, and be able to buy and hold more properties, because that cash flow is going to be substantially higher than with a 30-year mortgage. If you plan on just having it in your rental portfolio, especially for multifamily buildings, if you can get a 50-year mortgage on like a multifamily building, think about how much more advantageous that is as a business owner and an investor.
Insanely.
Love it.
Then pay it off early.
Yeah, you pay it off. You can still pay it off, as fast as you need to, but at least you have that cash flow to be able to buy more properties or to pay it off faster.
Yeah, or refi it too. Maybe they're going to roll out like you said, the 70-year mortgage or whatever. 20 years from then, just keep rolling it. Just playing Monopoly, right? Brandon, so I know you're a realtor, investor. What are your main exit strategies when locking up these contracts?
So obviously cash, I mean, I'm always looking to assign it first, but if I can't do that, then I'll potentially adjust myself to a fix and flip. I buy it like I'm going to fix and flip it anyway. That's usually what I end up locking it up for. Like, if I can't move this thing? Am I okay buying it?
Mhm.
I always try to have that mentality in the back of my mind, because if I'm not able to do this, then I'm just kind of, it's just a smoke and mirror game, you know, and
Mhm.
how many wholesalers are doing that? It's,
A
you
lot.
can't, yeah, you can't.
Most are just going deal to deal, living deal to deal, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Locking up
there's
as many
certainly,
contracts as they possibly can and then worrying about trying to sell it. It's just not the way to go. Like if you're not underwriting that thing, like you said, as if you're going to be the one buying it, then probably no one else is going to be the one buying it either.
yeah. And I've made my mistakes, and it took me lessons learned to get to that mentality too. Cause I'm just as guilty of it as well. Locking up contracts too high, telling the seller, like, I know you want that price, but most likely it's not going to go for that price, but here's what
Yeah.
I can do. I have a massive database of buyers that just might be stupid enough to buy it at that price.
Mhm.
But if not, I'm going to come right back to you with the feedback and let you know why it didn't sell for that price.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it just setting up the expectations very, very properly. But if I can't do it myself, I feel pretty foolish to even contract it, because it just turns into wasted time for myself too, knowing that it's priced just a little bit too high, or crazily too high, and then I'm just gonna look like an idiot blasting
Yeah.
this deal to a lot of people, which has happened, right? You just have to take those
Yeah.
lessons as they come.
It's hard to I feel like a lot of wholesalers, investors always have that FOMO, fear of missing out on a deal. But in reality, man, if you're second guessing it, is it really a deal though? Right. But it's kind of like, hey, get a contract first step, find a buyer second step, take it to closing third step. So, you know, investors aren't in this to get contracts, they're in this to get deals. And if you price the property incorrectly, then you're going to end up wasting a lot of time and look dumb at the same time in front of buyers and in front of sellers trying to sell a deal that's never a deal. So
Yeah.
it's underwriting is definitely huge.
I have kind of like a 3-day rule that I'll use with certain sellers that they just want a little bit too much. I'll tell them, like, I'll get my people out there if we get a contract. Like if it's like 5-10 grand short of where I actually need to be, I say I'll get a contract in front of you at the price you want it. But in 3 days, if I don't have solid feedback on this, we are going to terminate or renegotiate this price. I set them up for that expectation before I even send them the contract, because I already know, right? I already know, because I don't
Mhm.
want to spend my time trying to dispo a deal that's not able to be dispoed.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm. Yeah,
so setting up that expectation with the seller allows you to get a price reduction within that short time span, that whatever you choose.
that
Mine's
makes
3.
sense. And also you're forthcoming. You're letting them know that like, hey, they're this is what could happen. So they're going to talk to you. It's not just going to be like, no, you're not buying it. Never talk to them again. You can at least prep them for that conversation that may or may not happen.
Oh, it happens all the time too, man. I have a deal I'm closing next week, actually, that I've had this lady in my CRM for I think 3 or 4 months now. Had a great first conversation with her, kind of told her what I'm about, what we're doing, told her the ballpark price that I would need to be in, but I need to go over there and check it out first.
Mhm.
Meet her face to face is kind of how I like to do it. And she said no to my price, right? And then a couple weeks later, she said that she had signed a contract with somebody, and I look up the property and it's listed. She
Oh.
didn't even know. She didn't even know it was listed. She contracted at 180. My original price was like 160 or something, and I knew it was too much. So
Yeah.
she sold it to some guy for 180, and then he threw it on the market without them even knowing.
Mhm.
And I let her just sit, right? I followed up with her every week. I said, hey, have y'all sold yet? Y'all having any problems? Anything I can help with right now? And then finally, she just randomly got back to me, begging me to come and check out her house again and seeing if my offer was still on the table.
Mhm.
I said, well, I think it is, but let me go over there, meet you, make sure that the house is still in the same condition, and we'll get it
Yeah.
going. She told me the whole nightmare about the situation
Mhm.
that she was just in. And I was able to kind of dissect it and like, well, this is what he was doing. He was trying to do a novation, but
Yeah.
without properly explaining what the heck he was doing. So it just put a nasty reputation into
Yep.
our industry with somebody who's not setting up proper expectations at all. So having to be that person can make you look awesome, but it's also like, why are we having to have this conversation all the time? Like,
Mhm.
there's so many bad
True.
apples, and like being that person who can explain to them will overall help you win so many more deals out of it.
So you won her on the rapport. Even when you lost the deal at first, you won her. She trusted you to come back to you and be like, "Hey, help me out. I'm sorry. Here's what happened." And then now you're having to clean up a mess somebody else created and still be like, "Hey, like here's the best that I can do," even though so she just all she was hearing was numbers at first, I guess, right?
Yeah, we were kind of going over it. She was telling me about the situation. It was her mom's house, and she's the power of attorney and trying to basically
Mhm.
do it before she passes. And so I'm hearing all of the pain points really early on, and I kept all of those in my notes to when I did meet her. I kind of already understood what was going on, and
Yeah.
then she just needed to tell me what problems that she just experienced with these other jackasses, so I knew exactly what not to do as well. Um,
Mhm.
it was very smooth process from start to finish, but aside from me not getting the contract right away.
Yeah.
But built great rapport. She trusts me. She understands what I'm about, and that I can educate her on what she just went through and what I'm looking to do now. So, like,
I think it's a great lesson. I mean, that type of mindset you had with that is something I wish a lot more people had, especially people we worked with or worked with in the past. Is that you get you when people have this mindset that they're they're buying and we're buying and selling wholesaling houses, but really like the industry is sellers. It's a house doesn't have emotion, a house doesn't have distress, a house doesn't have issues in the sense of what we're talking about. It's the seller that does. And it's understanding the seller and working with the seller that is the most important thing. If you can't be able to have a conversation with a seller like they're a family member or a friend, and that you're willing to be there as a person to help them, whether or not you do business with them or do not business with them, if you're not willing to approach the conversation in that sense at the beginning, then you're going to have a very hard time. Can't tell you how many times we've talked about is people just we may be generating leads for someone. The leads are like, this person is going through it, and they're like, yeah, they want too much money. It's like, okay, well, that is like, they're not going to get that. We know that, you know that, right? So like the follow-up game, the understanding, the building the rapport, not just discrediting this person because they have unrealistic expectations. If you had done that and just left that lady alone and blocked her and just deleted her out of your CRM, you would have never had that opportunity. So many people have this expectation that they may generate a lead, and uh I'm going to one call close. They're going to hand over their keys and we're going to be out of here. And if it doesn't go that way, then it wasn't a good lead, right? But they're not understanding the person and what they're going through, and setting those expectations, talking about, hey, like, here's what you're having the knowledge and know-how to have a conversation with that seller and saying, hey, understand this is the situation you're in. Here's what you're going through. Here's what your options are. If you go route A, route B, route C, route D, I can help you with A, B, and C. D, I don't think no one I know is going to be able to help you with the route D, which is what you're looking for. Now, I could be wrong. If you should go look for that person, but if you aren't able to find that person, you still need to sell this house. Then these are the options I can help you with, and I would love to help you with it, and I'll even try to go above and beyond to do that. Building that rapport on that first call is all you really need to do. And even beyond that, if they work with you from there, from awesome. But so many people, like you said, are just giving this industry a bad reputation because they're just locking up on their contract for whatever the person says or whatever little negotiation they can do on that first call. And then they're just putting on their stack of papers and saying that's a problem for tomorrow. And then they're working on the other problem, which is like how to dispo it and just locking up as many houses as they can. But that person to person, that we always say that, like, sometimes being in this business, you're a therapist more than you are anything else, an investor or a business professional. Talking to these people, building a rapport with them, that's what's going to get the deal done.
oh yeah, and if you could lock on to being that therapist and with these type of sellers, because 9 times out of 10, if it's a parent involved, it's not going to be an analytical person. It's always going to be a very emotionally driven individual. And the sooner you can get that part figured out, numbers mean very little to these people. It means something, but that's not what they care most about. They care about the simplicity and the ease of the burden. Because this house, particularly the last person who was trying to buy it from them, had people just walking in and out, not locking things back and moving things. She said that the house was a complete disaster. So before I even went over there, I was like, take all the time you need, clean it up, do whatever you need to. Here are a couple of house cleaners that I can recommend for you. And if you don't want us to see the house in its condition, that's fine with me, But the person took a bunch of pictures and uploaded them onto the internet with the house looking like a disaster. And that was like a trigger point for her. So it's like, as soon as I figured that out, it's like, okay, how would you like this to look? And I always ask, if it's not the price or if it's not the speed and convenience, what else in this transaction are you looking to achieve that you didn't get from the last person, or you are looking to get from me or the next person? Always open that up to give them another chance to say, like, well, I'm still looking for this, or I need this done, or whatever, You never know. But
yeah, that interpersonal skill is something that you either have or you don't, right? So many people approach this from a numbers and a numbers game, a numbers perspective. I make this many calls and blah blah blah. Eventually you are going to get lucky and hit a couple, but when you're really like have that skill, which is really hard to teach, to pick up on those pain points, read between the lines, understand what's important to the seller, and that is going to go so much further than any number that you could throw at them, or any type of thing you can do as far as when you go to negotiate. If they want to work with you because they have some sense of trust with you, then they're trusting that you're giving them the best advice possible, which means you're probably going to get the best price possible.
Absolutely. The numbers, like I said, the numbers are very important, but you have to be able to talk to them and understand where they're coming from. And it, like you said, it's not something that's easy to teach. And I think it takes experience, because I was one of those idiot wholesalers that would just lock it up for the hell of it and be like, oh, I got a new deal. I was one of those people, but the longer you do that, the quicker you're going to get burnt out and realize that nobody's going to trust you if you just start locking things up at a number that they're going to want. If there's no pushback with a seller and a buyer, like as the wholesaler, then most likely that's not going to be a great deal. There's going to have to be some friction there, and it's not going to be pretty 9 times out of 10. You're going to have to bring emotions out. Like, well, if we get this thing sold, you're not going to have to deal with it anymore, and you can finally go buy that piece of whatever, wherever else. And they start clicking in their brain like, oh, that's where we want to be. And all of a sudden the puzzle pieces just start fitting in place. And that's why I kind of like the more emotional seller over the analytical one, because they're going to start hounding you on the prices of everything, right? Oh, I had a quote done last year at this price. I don't know why it would take you that much to do it. So I appreciate the emotional seller. I think personally, it's just a little bit easier to understand and have empathy for a person who's going through something as life-changing as a death in the family, or just tax burdens or whatever, but can usually figure that out.
Gotcha. So what's you mentioned your first deal. What's the most memorable deal that you've done? Craziest situation, maybe the biggest transaction. What's the let us have it, bro.
Yeah, I have a cool one that ended up being a very big surprise for me. It was a seller. It was with the old company I worked with, and a seller had called the line, and he lives out in LaPorte. It's like 20 minutes away from where I live. So I was able to go and meet him face to face. And right off the bat, he told me that he expects to lose money on the sale of the house. He told me about how much he owed, how much it's worth, etc., how much he's needing. And he was completely expecting to lose like 15 grand with the sale of the house. And I said, we could definitely do that for you, but I would feel terrible if you came to the closing table with a check and not left with a check.
Yeah.
So I sat down with him at the table, and he pulled up his mortgage statement, and he had like a 2.3% interest rate on there. So I was like, oh, bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
Fireworks going off in my head. I was like, well, sir, there's great news I'm seeing here. You're definitely not going to have to bring money to the table. I'll be able to put money in your pocket, actually. How about 10 grand? I didn't even underwrite this thing at all. I knew that because he's expecting not to make money. So any dollar amount at all is going to sound great.
Yeah.
So we took over the property sub 2, paid the guy 10 grand, didn't get a hard money loan or anything on it, cleaned out the house real good. This property, it wasn't like your typical type of property. It was a giant, like $25,000 or 2,500 square foot house with a pool, which is a nightmare for me personally. I don't like pools.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a liability and just hassle. But because of the deal and where we got it at, it just made so much sense. So we took it down, held it for, I think, 4 months, cleaned it up real good, and then just relisted it, and it sold within, I think we had to wait like 90 days so that we could get an FHA buyer in there. But it was like $1,600 a month that we were holding this thing for. And then we sold it. We bought it for like, I think it was $230 or so, that the mortgage was still owed on it. And we ended up selling it for about $330. So it was like $100,000 profit right there. And we barely did anything to the house. That house also gave me a lot of anxiety because it was one of the very first flips I've ever done. And if anybody who goes through holding costs and has to spend money every single month on something, you're just kind of freaking out. That taught me that. So that property right there taught me how to deal with holding costs and just a little bit of anxiety. If you're getting showings, but nobody's putting offers in, how you're dealing with that emotionally. That was a really fun experience, but I'm glad we got all the way through and made a big fat check out of it too. So that was a big learning lesson for me, how to do a sub 2 property and then flip it. And yeah, man, that was a fun one.
That was your first sub 2?
That was my third or fourth sub 2 at the time. My first sub 2 was actually a really cool story too. That was out in Missouri City or something. I kind of went through the whole process on how creative finance works with the seller. He knew that he didn't have enough equity to do anything, but he was desperate to get out of there because his mortgage payments were too high. And at the time, I knew nothing about sub 2s, but I had just been seeing Pace Morby pop up on social media like every single day. And I said, I know there's something here. He's got a great interest rate. I know there's something I can do here.
Yeah.
So I posted the deal in one of his free Facebook groups, and the enrollment director actually messaged me about it and then enrolled me into sub 2 right after I signed him the deal. He got a great deal out of it. I got a nice check and access to the sub 2 community all in one deal. It was incredible.
It's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. A little some intro on creative financing, dude. That's awesome. How was the pitch? How was the pitch to these sellers? Was it tough or was it easy? I get a mix from some of the clients we have. Some people are just ready to sign whatever. They don't care.
Yeah, I think that was kind of what it was because it was so new to me. I know I butchered the crap out of that pitch, but I just kind of said it if I can remember, I remember saying like, you don't have equity, but we can take over the payments and basically pay on your behalf, essentially. And he said, oh, that sounds great. I'm getting money out of it too. And I don't have to pay these mortgages anymore. Okay. And it was basically like a done deal after that. I just had to learn how to put the paperwork together. And it took me like almost a day on like tweaking the numbers and where to put what and all that. But the pitch, I mean, because he knew he had no options, I think it was just
lay down
for him. Yeah, it was a lay down. But now, I mean, I have like a credit card pitch that I'm sure you've heard Pace Morby talk about. Like,
I don't think so.
It's been a minute since I've had to do this, but I say stuff like, if you have a bank, they give you a credit card and you go shop with that credit card, you go buy your groceries. Let's say Costco, you go buy your groceries at Costco. At the door, they're going to ask for that receipt and make sure that you paid for all of these groceries, but that money isn't your money. You have the receipt. It acts like a deed showing that you own those groceries, but you still got to pay that bank back. And they're like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. So my house is going to be like a credit card to you. Like, well, kind of, but
it works, right?
It works. Yeah. I don't pitch them too often anymore, but every now and then I send them a little video that tends to help. It's like a 60-second video.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, I'm sure now at this point you've been in the game so long that it's like second nature. You know what I mean? when a deal comes through and it doesn't check off or cash offer or listing or whatever, it's just automatically sub to that approach, and it's probably just much more comfortable at this point.
Yeah, yes and no, because I don't like to make that decision before I have the conversation with them, because you never really know where they're at unless you know what their pain points are. So I used to do that, but I don't like to assume what type of transaction it's going to turn into anymore, at least. Because you can easily like go on PropStream or whatever, see if they got a 3% interest rate, and you're automatically thinking, yes, I'm going to pitch sub 2 to this person. Without actually hearing them out, you may just make yourself look like a fool and lose the deal in that way. So, I mean, I always try to have that conversation and figure out what their pain points are. And then I start laying down some options. I always kind of frame what I think their best option is going to be and hold that one for last. That way I can go through with them, like what a cash offer is really going to look like and what it will look like at the end of the transaction for that person. And if that doesn't work, if that makes you uncomfortable, then we'll jump to this particular transaction style. And knowing that all of these options aren't really going to be the best fit, but holding on to that last one, knowing it will be perfect. I just have to make sure he says no to all of these other ones. So that way the pitch on the last one's
Locks
super
them
easy.
in.
Yeah. They kind of
Got it.
understand themselves where I'm going at that point.
Got it. What's one thing you would tell Brandon advice back when you were just getting in the business? What's one piece of advice you wish you could tell yourself?
Oh man, I remember being so analytical on everything, and it took me forever to actually get started. I would say just do it, man. Go out there, just start calling people, make yourself look stupid, because it's going to happen regardless. And the quicker you can make yourself look stupid, you're going to learn the lessons out of each one of those spots, and it's going to be easier than reading a book and then going and stumbling anyway. That's what I would say, because it took me like 7 or 8 months to actually get the ball rolling. After I had all of this knowledge of real estate already, it took me 8 months sitting with it to actually pick up the phone and get anything going for myself.
It's a great analogy. I watched some video, but it was about they were trying to teach someone French, and they said in order, like, you're not going to be able to be a affluent speaker in French until you've made like 10,000 mistakes or something like that. I forget what the actual number was. But when that person heard that, they said, oh, okay. And they just went out and started speaking French and making a mistake and thinking every single mistake they make is now one step closer to being affluent. And when you think about that way, you're not worried about what you're about to say, what you're about to say and messing up.
I got a great example on that too.
You're about to make the next mistake that's one step closer to being affluent. And when you think about it that way, that person normally they said would learn the language in 6 months. When they approach it that way, they learn it in 1 month.
Yeah, with a beer. Go out there, get a couple drinks, and just start speaking your butt off to other French people. When I moved to Germany, I didn't know the language, and that's exactly how I ended up learning it. Was just going out to bars and stuff and drinking with people and making yourself look stupid on purpose. But then you get used to it, and you're like, okay, I know how that's not supposed to be said. And then just through reps, man, it always comes down to reps and repetition. And the sooner people can just pick up the phone and just make themselves look stupid, the more success they're going to have and faster.
That's true. Yeah. Kind of like, you miss 100% of the shots you never take, right? Whoever said that quote, I don't remember, but, so how long did you live in Germany before you came to, Houston?
Yeah. So my dad, he's in the army, or was in the army. Spent 35 years active duty military, and we went over there when I was like 12 or 13, and I stayed all the way till I was 27. So I became fluent in the language, learned how to be German, I guess. And the pandemic is the reason why I kind of came back. It gave me just an opportunity. I always thought in the back of my mind that America is, amazing place. You can go make money. You can go be anybody you want to be. And I always had that in the back of my mind. I always felt like I was missing out on something. So when I had the opportunity to come back, I signed myself up for it, went for it. And at the time I was skateboarding a lot, believe it or not. That was like my everything. And I quickly learned that Houston and skateboarding, it's very humid and hot here.
Mhm.
It's like, I can't do this for much longer. I can't do it. I got to find something else. And what, like, how many things translates from skateboarding to another occupation? There's like nothing. But it framed me on how to kind of be an entrepreneur. Like skateboarding, I was going out there skating, filming myself, and kind of real estate is very equivalent to that, having to film yourself, document yourself doing things, and always picking yourself back up and having to try again and try again and try again. So actually real estate kind of fit perfectly for my lifestyle and what I'm used to. Worked out.
That's cool, man. Awesome. So what are your thoughts on the market going into, new year coming up, 2026? What are your thoughts?
I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen because we've been in a buyer's market for so long. There's going to be some loosening up in one direction or another. And there's been so many people sitting on the sidelines for so long, as there hasn't been any market activity, like not much change. I mean, as far as interest rates and stuff like that go, things have always been expensive. And I think it's a great time that people are starting to pay attention to that. Like, time is of the essence is starting to become a more and more recognizable saying to the masses. And I think if there's ever been a time that they've been on the fence, that they're going to start having to make a decision. I think January 1st is going to open floodgates to investors that are already doing good business, right? I think it'll get rid of a lot of bad apples personally, but I think the ones who are already established in this industry are going to make a killing next year. I really believe that.
So seller's market, you're thinking right off the rip.
I do think it will start turning into that. I think it'll level out gradually over time, but I think when April starts coming, like right before summertime, I think it's going to be a frenzy again. I really do.
What do you like more? You like doing in the investor side, or do you like the retail side?
Oh, man, that's an obvious question. The retail side's a pain in the butt. It is a pain in the butt. There's just so much more paperwork, and there's a lot more different kinds of emotions, right? Because like most retail people want, sorry, man.
It's all good.
Most retail folks want everything perfect, right? As anybody would who's moving into a house. So they want, their picture perfect property. But in an investor, the only thing they really look at is numbers. If those numbers don't work, on to the next one. Retail, it's like, I didn't like the way the window was facing the fence, or any and every kind of excuse can be made with retail. And you just don't really deal with that on the investor side. And I appreciate how much faster some of the transactions go. There's a lot less, there's still inspections, but there's just a lot less down the line negotiating. It usually happens in the very front or once in the middle, and that's usually as far as it goes. But with retail, man, it can be never ending.
Yeah, appraisal, inspection, if it's FHA or whatever type of loan it is, they need all these contingencies, and it's a lot. It's a lot of paperwork too, man. So yeah, no, I don't blame you. I don't have a license, but I can just tell that the investor side is much easier and simpler. What's your follow-up process like? Leads come in. What are you doing if they don't accept your offer? How does that?
Man, I put everybody on a drip campaign. First off, so they're getting 3 emails a week. I have certain pipelines for certain things, but if it's a hot lead, they're getting an email every other day. And then I send them text messages almost every day. It's usually like if I end up going nowhere with the seller on that day, like I tell them my price, they say no. I say, okay, no problem, Mr. Seller. I'll follow up with you in like a week or so if that's okay. See where you're at. And they almost always say yes, that's fine. And so I'll do that. That first week, I'll follow up with them. I'm like, hey, you still trying to sell that house? What's going on? Anything I can help you with? No, I don't want your offer. And then I'll do it again the next week. And then the weeks might get longer or shorter depending on their responses. Like sometimes they'll say like, didn't we talk already? What's your offer now? Like, okay, well, there's just a couple questions I want to ask you real quick before I just blindly give you an offer. And it usually goes well, but I have them all pretty warmed up before I jump on the phone. Like I'm texting everybody all the damn time. Pretty basically, like my drip campaign is you still selling your casa? Just like that, so they know I'm human as well.
Mhm.
I purposely put a typo in there also,
Yeah.
so I'm not AI or a robot.
Yeah.
And it's just like 3 or 4 words, and they'll say yes. I'll say, "How much do you need for it?" Pretty similar to RJ style. I'll always say,
Yeah.
"How much do you need for it?" And if that number is anywhere close to a retail number or a cash offer, I'm calling them right away. And I
Yeah.
start answering or asking them what's going on. Like, why are you in this position right now? What has your experience been in the last several months leading up to this decision now? And what do you
Mhm.
want the next couple months to look like after you've sold this thing? Like, I try to make them build the framework for me so that I can just work on it.
Mhm.
So
Got you. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are always expecting for those low hanging fruit in this business, but they're just so far to come across. But it takes a lot more work of offering and offering and offering again and following up with them and saying, "Hey, I'm still the same person that has been calling you over and over again, bugging you." And but also that seller, if they're still in the same situation, eventually something's got to give, right? They have to accept a lower offer, or something in their life has changed that now they have no choice, and now they actually have to sell, right?
I call it
It,
shaking the tree. Just like
yeah,
shaking the tree until something starts falling, because there's low hanging fruits everywhere, but you got to follow up and shake the tree by letting those fruits fall for you. You know,
that's true. That's true. Um, why do you think this industry has such a high turnover?
I think it's a low barrier of entry, and everybody loves hearing about how. I
Mhm.
mean, when I saw somebody make a $20,000 check, it's like, oh my god, this is possible. And then you start learning about it, and it takes months to kind of figure this business out. I think, like, nobody can just pick up the phone. I mean, it happens, but it's very rare. And it just takes a long time to actually see one of those checks. And I think people just get burnt out before it happens.
That's
And then
true.
paying for leads, right? Nobody's going to pay for leads unless they know they can be a closer. Like, that was a big decision for me too. It's like, I'm not going to buy all these leads if I know I can't close them.
Mhm.
So I taught some people on how to make a fool of yourself on Zillow Fizbos. I used to do that. And I was like, if you can't at least get to this point with the Fizbo owner, then you're gonna have no shot in hell
Mhm.
with a lead that you're buying, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
you have to go through those reps to know where you're gonna be with these sellers. And
That's a good point, dude. You have to like fail your way to success. Me and Andrew see this all the time of everybody reaching out from, every angle, people who are doing 10, 20 deals a month, people who are doing no deals a month, but they want to work with us. Right. But we see that if it's somebody who can afford us, but they haven't closed a deal, or they don't have a system in place, or they are I don't know, maybe they've been in the business 25 years. They've done a million deals, but they don't have a CRM and they're just using their cell phone. Like, it's hard for us to provide them with our full value because they're not up to speed on technology or a sales process or what it actually takes to get a transaction closed, right? There's a lot of people running around out here that saying this is the easiest thing ever, make money while you sleep, but it's not the truth.
I mean,
Mhm.
there's a double-edged sword to it as well, because most people get to a spot in their wholesaling career that they think it's necessary to start teaching people. And then
Mhm.
those people, those gurus, right? We all hear about them, will make real estate wholesaling look very, very easy
Mhm.
so that they can get another cash grab.
Mhm.
Sign up for my program right now for
Mhm.
$100 a month. I'll show you how easy it is. But you're paying that person another income, and that's
Yeah.
why they're going to show you how easy it is. I mean,
That's what, yeah, we were just talking about, like, so many of these gurus in any industry. This isn't just talking about real estate. You'll pay $25,000 to have someone tell you to work harder, is like really at the end of the day what a lot of it comes down to. And that's something a lot of people don't want to hear. But yeah, mindset's a big thing, and working hard is a big thing. And so maybe you need someone to tell you that, right? And some people, maybe that's what it is. But at the end of the day, when you break it down to brass tacks, it's a lot of that. And you could sign up with Michael Jordan's mastermind. It doesn't mean you're going to go be able to make the Chicago Bulls, right?
Yes.
Do you have it, or do you not have it? Like that's it. And some people don't. Like, everyone's skilled in completely different things. This is a tough gig. You're dealing with really large transactions and really big number figures, and a lot of emotions and a lot of sales and a lot of patience. And patience not only with dealing with sellers, but patience with your own emotions. And it requires a lot of work ethic and persistence. And nothing really comes easy. We always say that, like, if you get a deal that's really easy and it was just an open shut, then the next one's going to be an absolute nightmare, right? And it's going to have everything under the sun. But then usually, you do a couple nightmares and then you get another layup. And a lot of people get lucky with their first one being the layup, and then they're out of the game after that. That's it. That's the last deal, the only deal they'll ever do, because they don't realize that, like, oh no, I should have taken most of that and invested that into systems, processes, training, maybe marketing, putting a marketing budget aside so you can get those into the next deal. So when people just blow their first deal thinking the next one's going to come that easy, and the next thing you know, they're door dashing.
Everybody has to experience what it's like not closing a deal for like 2 months. Everybody needs to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody it's such an easy business to get into, but it's a very difficult business to stay in. And you see it every single day where people will be gung-ho on cold calling or buying leads, and then 3 or 4 months later, you're not seeing that person do anything anymore.
Yep.
They got the teeth kicked out of them, and then it's mindset is the biggest thing about this business. Like, I used to tell myself, like, I hope this is the one, and then it would never happen. But now I tell myself this is the one, and now my conversations are a lot more fluid. It's just how you frame everything it starts in your head.
Yep.
Nobody's going to want to work with you if you don't expect anybody to want to work with you.
That's true. That's true, man. Well, we're just about done here, man. Brandon, where would you, I want to leave off on something. What would you say to anybody who's, listening or watching, or anybody at all that hasn't gotten to their first deal yet? What are some advice that you would like to give them?
Oh, that's a good question, because I've had so many different levels of advice throughout my short career, but I would say to connect with somebody who's only 3 steps ahead of you instead of somebody who's 30 steps ahead of you. It'll be a lot easier to kind of connect with that person, knowing that they're going to have their challenges as well, and you can kind of collaborate yourself. Even if you're bringing nothing to the table, you'll still have your time and your energy. And that's something that you can deploy into somebody else's business who's already somewhat started. That's how I helped a lot of people get involved. Because I'm a small wholesaler myself. I don't have a giant team behind me or anything. And I've helped smaller people who are just getting started, like, run numbers for somebody. I kind of explained to them like what I would say. So I think joining a couple Facebook groups is definitely a good place to start. Start posting who you are and what you're looking to do every single day as well. A lot of people go on there, post once, and act like, why isn't this working? But you need to be posting every single day and sharing with people where you're struggling, what you're doing, and then giving people an invitation to bring what they might have to provide for you as well. It's like being in the business at the start is always the challenge. And if you can find other people who are in the same ballpark of those challenges, you're gonna launch up faster. So Facebook groups, connecting yourself to somebody who's already somewhat established, and not being scared. Like, don't be scared to pick up the phone and just call even real estate agents, FSBOs. I think calling FSBOs is a great practice because it's going to be hard. And I would rather start where it's really, really difficult. And then everything else after that becomes relatively easy, honestly. That's where I would kind of start.
Awesome, man. Love it, dude. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. thanks for tuning in. And Brandon, thanks for coming on here, man.
Man, I'm blessed, guys. Honored to be here. And thanks again for inviting me.
Absolutely. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be back, I think, special Black Friday edition. So we'll have some fun things to come up with to talk about them. But I appreciate everyone who's checking this out either live or in the future. And as always, if you are in need of any motivated, high quality distressed seller leads at a fraction of the price of anyone else in the market, Lead House 365. We'd love to talk to you and see where maybe we can help you out. Have a great one, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We are out.